right, so those are major triads all over the neck. In that instance, I was playing C, F, and G, kind of like a 1-4-5-E thing, using just all closed inversion major triads. And what this video is about is how to practice those triads in an organized way. We're going to go over C first. In an organized way all over the neck in closed inversions. And there's 3 different places to do that, starting from the C, the E, and the G, which make up the C major triad. So let's get started with some C major triad inversions all over the neck. So the first thing we're going to look at is a C major triad. The root is a C, the third is E, the 5th is G. So everything I'm about to play is just C, E, and G in 3 different places on the neck. I call these inversion sets. The first one being the root set, C, E, G. And the concept or technique is, once you have those first 3 notes of this triad, or any triad in any key, what's happening now is the lowest note hops over the 2 higher notes. The 2 higher notes stay right where they are. So C, E, G goes to E, G, C. E, G, C becomes G, C, E. G, C, E becomes C, E, G. So we begin with C, E, G. We end with C, E, G. Thus the root set. All together, smoothly, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, and back down. Notice when I'm doing that, all 3 notes are coming out clearly. I'm not worried about running into any of the other strings, even though I'm playing inside sets, because I'm using a rest stroke. I'm letting the pick come to rest. So if I'm playing 6, 5, 4, E, A, D, I'm letting the pick come to rest on the G string, and so on. 5, 4, 3, the pick comes to rest on the B string, and so on. So that's a useful technique in a lot of situations. It's something you can practice when you're reviewing major chord or minor or any other form of triad in these 3 adjacent string groups. So that was the root set. Next, I could also begin from E. So I call this my first inversion set. When E is in the bass, we call it first inversion. And that set sounds like E, G, C. The E goes up an octave over the G and C. The G goes up an octave over the C and E, and so on. And then finally E, G, C again. Notice that this looks suspiciously like that, except I'm starting with E in the bass there. Just imagine this chord, if you're memorizing this for the first time, the C major chord at the 8th fret, and I'm just grouping those notes together in 3s. It is useful, and it will slow you way down, but acknowledge the notes as you're playing, like E, G, C. And if you don't know the neck so well, figure it out. It really is painful at first, but it is really a beneficial thing to be able to see notes if you can't already. The next set would be from G, and when G is in the bass, I could also play it down here. That's the second inversion, so that's G, C, E, C, E, G, E, G, C. I'm sure you guys recognize that. That's a C major chord. Grouped in 3s, sounds like this. I'm using rest strokes, not hitting too hard. I'm just letting them. This is something else I end up talking about with students. Don't fight the string. Just let the pick gently glide over the string as you're playing these. You get a warmer tone that way. So here they all are from the root again. C, E, root set, first inversion set. Second inversion set. I'll do it up here an octave higher. Add a little bit of vibrato when things sound a little bit funky and out of tune, especially higher on the neck. Give it a little wiggle, a little natural chorus. But all these delicious rhythmic Hendrixy, John Mayer style, I'm seeing these triad pieces in part when I do things like this. So then of course we want to practice them in other keys as well. I personally like practicing things around the circle of fifths. The next key you could practice would be G. G, B, D, B, G. Same concept, just same shapes, just with different notes. So that's the root set in G, first inversion set in D, second inversion set in D. There are so many great things you can do with triads, and especially when you learn to see them in smaller pieces like that. The next thing you would want to practice with triads, once you master major and minor triads going across the neck, would be up and down the neck. So you could take a C triad, and do things like that. We'll talk about that in another video.